Love it, hate it, politics, Look, it shapes our gains, okay? No matter what your opinion is of the whole damn process, and 2026 could be the year everything rises. Imagine a Republican landslide in the midterm elections, putting Trump and his party in a position not seen since Roosevelt's era. Stick till the end of the video to explore the possibilities and how this could affect your crypto bags. Now here's the deal. The US president does have a lot of power at his disposal, but it's not absolute. He can't just arbitrarily change the laws to suit his agenda. He can't force Jerome Powell to cut the damn interest rates, man. Jerome is resisting. Trump would probably like to have them at 1%, and Trump's next pick to replace Jerome Powell will probably be a guy who's going to go along with that program. And Trump certainly cannot unilaterally rewrite policy. That's the beauty of the separation of powers. Checks and balances keep one branch from just running wild. But there's a flip side. Even good economic policies can get stuck in legislative gridlock simply because Congress doesn't want to hand the other side a win. To understand why a GOP sweep in 2026 could matter so much, let's rewind to 1932. And before everybody gets all triggered in the comments section, we're talking about economics and what could happen to markets if something plays out. You can have your opinions about political parties. I don't really care. 1932, the US was reeling from the Great Depression. The economy had collapsed, real GDP falling 29% between 1929 and 1933, unemployment soaring at 25%, nearly 7,000 banks, about a third of the entire financial system failed. Against that backdrop, FDR won a landslide victory, promising a new deal to restore hope, stabilize banks, and put Americans back to work. Ever heard of the Mar-a-Lago Accords? This could be that new deal. Now, within FDR's first 100 days, Congress went into overdrive. The Emergency Banking Act of 1933 stabilized the financial system by reopening sound banks and shutting down failing ones. The Federal Emergency Relief Act and Civilian Conservation Corps provided direct aid and millions of public jobs. The National Industrial Recovery Act tried to revive wages, set fair play rules for businesses, and later came the creation of Social Security and unemployment insurance, safety nets that are still here today. Now, by the mid-1930s, union strength was rising, income inequality started to narrow, and millions of people were employed now through public works projects. Now, it wasn't a magic cure, but by 1939, GDP per capita was still about 17% below its 1929 peak, but it had recovered some. Unemployment did remain stubbornly high, though. But the New Deal showed something critical. When the executive and legislative branches move in sync together, sweeping reforms can pass quickly. That can have dramatic impacts on the economy. That kind of unified power can reshape the economy in ways that gridlock never allows. Now, before we get into the next part of the story, guys, if you're trading Bitcoin, a good place to buy Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, whatever, well, guess what? The crypto OGs already know the deal. FEMX is built for real traders with deep liquidity across all the big coins, proven security, and global access, meaning anyone, anywhere can access FEMX. You might need a VPN in some cases, okay? But it's a platform that delivers. And here's where it gets exciting. When you deposit $200 or more and make a single trade, you're gonna get $50 for free. That's crazy. On top of that, you can unlock up to $800 in trading rewards, plus one Solana just by getting started. And this month, only 5 lucky traders will also win 1 Solana each. It's a crazy deal. Links down below. This is your shot to trade on a world-class exchange, claim some great rewards, and maybe walk away with a few extra Solana in your pocket. The only question is, will you do it? Link down below. Let's get back into this. Fast forward to today. Imagine the GOP or Republicans pulling off a similar landslide in 2026. That would give Trump and the Republicans the kind of political firepower we haven't seen in nearly a century, and we already have a taste of what that might look like. In 2025, Trump signed what he called the one big beautiful bill, the best bill. Some people say it's Trump's bill, the Trump bill. Anyway, a sweeping tax package that locked in many of his earlier cuts and added new breaks for workers and families. Tips were exempted from federal income tax through 2028. The cap on state and local tax deductions was lifted significantly, and families saw bigger child tax credits. All good stuff. The bill also introduced targeted deductions aimed at workers, seniors, and buyers of American-made cars. That's already law. But most of those provisions will expire in 2028. Meaning that Trump needs more wins to extend or expand them. This could mean, of course, slashing corporate tax rates below 20%, boosting child credits again, and even cutting taxes on Social Security benefits, as well as overtime pay altogether. Remember, less tax means more ka-ching, ka-ching for consumers and for business expansions. Less coffers for the government to pay down $37 trillion in debt, but that's the later us problem, okay? The money eventually trickles down into risk assets, dog coins particularly, obviously. Combine that with tariffs designed to bring manufacturing back to the US, with tariff revenue already going up massively, deregulations across the banking, energy, and labor markets, and you get a recipe for a short-term boom. And here's where things could get really wild. Back in February 2025, Trump signed an executive order directing Treasury and Commerce to come up with a plan for a U.S. sovereign wealth fund. Now, normally sovereign wealth funds are funded by giant budget surpluses, something that the United States definitely does not have, okay? So where does the money come from? Well, there's a lot of ideas on the table that include selling off federal land, revaluing America's gold reserves, using tariff revenues, issuing new debt, or even taking equity stakes in companies tied to national security actions, which is actually already happening. We've had that happen already with Intel and a few others, TikTok, Nvidia, stuff like this. Like the US government's buying major stakes in companies. And another one was announced today. Okay, it's happening. Now let's step into the what if territory. And guys, we're getting off a bit in the deep end here, but you can see the path to where this could go. The biggest sovereign wealth fund today is Norway's government pension fund, Global, which has about $2 trillion. But Norway's economy pales in comparison. Only $500 billion. The U.S. roughly $30 trillion, 60 times bigger. Of course, with the U.S. literally drowning in debt, we do have to be somewhat realistic, but with time and some creative budgeting, a U.S. sovereign wealth fund could easily be around 5, even 10 times bigger than Norway's. $10-20 trillion. Here's what gets really interesting. Trump isn't just thinking about traditional assets here. You see, with the Genius Act already in place, stablecoins now have clear regulations and legitimacy. Add the strategic Bitcoin reserve, which secures hundreds of thousands of BTC at the national level with the potential to buy hundreds of thousands of more in some kind of budget neutral ways. The pieces are falling into place for crypto to become a core part of America's financial strategy. Now imagine this, even 20% of that 10 trillion fund goes into crypto. That's $2 trillion, almost the entire market cap of Bitcoin today, and about half of the total market cap of all crypto. One move like this could literally send the markets to the moon. And this might just be wishful thinking, but maybe, just maybe, we'll have a dollar backed by Bitcoin. Doesn't even need to happen. The fact that stable coins are America's going all in on stable coins is massive in itself. But if America starts stacking Bitcoin in a serious way to match their gold reserves in some fashion, it's going to be massive. Now, is this plan guaranteed to happen? Not at all. Not at all. For one, we don't even know if the Republicans will actually sweep the midterms. They got a lot of work to do and a lot of people to impress between now and then. And even if they do, there's no certainty that they'll deliver on any of these promises. History shows that markets don't always care about party lines. In fact, the S&P 500's annual average return has been roughly 14% under both Democratic and Republican administrations. Okay, but here's where things get interesting. It's less about the party label and more about the narratives that this administration is pushing. The AI stuff, the energy stuff, the crypto stuff. Trump wants lower interest rates, he's going to get them. New Fed chief in about 5 months' time. It's going to be Trump's guy, a guy who's going to play ball, a guy who's going to lower rates like mad. Not just easing the federal debt burden here, but flooding the market with cheap money. Dollar's going to be weakened dramatically. That's Trump's plan. That's what he wants. That's the businessman in Trump speaking. He also wants to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. soil, which a weaker dollar might actually help. Short term, that could mean higher inflation as tariffs and supply chains adjust. But for risk assets, all this stuff could be a net positive. More factories, more jobs, more expansion, more money to buy dog coins, right? Higher inflation only strengthens the case for deflationary assets like Bitcoin, and perhaps the wildest card of all, Trump is openly pro-crypto, at least while he's in power. The fear of hostile anti-crypto regulations really fades into the background. This dude's made hundreds of millions, if not billions already off of crypto. He's made big money, and he's made a lot of legislation too. He's made sure that banks can't be debanked. He's leaning into policies that normalize digital assets like the Clarity Act, the Genius Act. They're pushing for all kinds of stuff, the 401ks to be able to take crypto. So if Republicans do pull off a sweep in 2026, the stage could be set for a bull run that makes previous cycles look small by comparison. Thanks for watching.